Cool. Before we get started, let me just quickly introduce who we are. Hi, I'm Neha, one of the hosts. I'm the delivery practice lead with Fabric.
Okay, I'm Wen. It's not that Wen, it's Wen without H. So I'm business analyst in Fabric, and I have more than 10 years experience. So Neha and I here today is to share our experience using this technique while we're working, and hopefully after today that we can bring you on your own journey of using it. Okay?
We'll keep this workshop very interactive, and if you have used this technique before at any place, do give us some inputs how this has been helpful, not helpful, or you've done this differently, because we want to learn from each other. And that's the reason why we to this workshop, which you will do in groups. The idea is to actually create your own user story map. We know, and from our learning, once you get your hands dirty, that's the best way of learning, right? All right. Before we get started with the workshop and everything, I see a lot of new faces and a lot of new people who have joined our meetup. So within your group itself, why don't you get to know each other, right?
Yep.
So
within your team, if your team members are even, try to find one of your neighbors and chat. But if not, try to find 3 of them, or depend on you. So we will spend like 1 minute talk and write some bullet points. And during the conversation, try to find out first their names, second why they are here today, or the third maybe 2 or 3 interesting things about them. Then after 1 minute chat, and then you will have 30 seconds each person to share your pair to the group. Any questions?
Was that clear?
Clear?
You're not going to be introducing yourself, you're going to be introducing your
pairs.
to the group. Right? Is that all right? So find a neighbor. Just
So time starts.
Did we get to know a little bit about our neighbor? in this time? It was still going? Oh, was it? Okay. Tough luck. I'm sorry. So let's spend just 30 more seconds within your group to introduce the person you were interacting with. If in case they couldn't interview you or get more insights about you, maybe just introduce yourself to the group.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
You're going to keep it very tight, short and tight.
If you want, you can listen. I can let you know in the back.
All right. Are we done with all the introduction? Do we know all our team members in the group? We do? Yeah? That was a quick one. Yeah? Well, I've got a whistle with me now, so this is how I'm going to indicate time. Oh. Yeah. Was that loud enough? I'm bad. Well, give it a try, or count, right? All right. So before we get started on user story map, how many of you here have actually tried creating user story maps? Good. Good. So we would like to hear a little bit about how you have done that throughout the workshop. Maybe after we finish the workshop during Q&A as well, right? How many of you are here business analysts? Good mix. Product owners? Product managers, if that's the title. Okay. UX, UI. All right. PMs. No PMs. Developers.
Thank you.
All right. So I see we've got a good mix of roles here. Before we get started, many of the time in any kind of teams that we go into, any delivery we go into, documentation is the word that we hear the most, right? And what happens when there is just documentation, right? A lot of conversation is lost. And to highlight that, this is an excellent example of just documentations. Somebody wanted to get a wedding cake and just that. And what they got was a writing on the cake with literally just a wedding cake. Similarly, somebody wanted to create a swing. They forgot to give extra, what's the purpose of the swing? How is one going to use the swing? Nobody talked about those things. So there you are, you've got a swing. That's what you asked for, right? You asked for toilets. That's very convenient to use. A door handle where you can't really reach the lock. So I'm not against documentation, and I don't think we should step away from documentation. But we shouldn't stop the conversation when there is, even if there is documentation there. So most of the time when we go in or run any kind of delivery, irrespective of how much documentation is in place, we always love to have a conversation. Understand exactly what the need of the customer is. Talk to our end clients, talk to our stakeholders. So all of the stories, everybody knows what a story is before I jump in? Yeah? Okay, I'll go into more details about what story is. Even if there is documentation, even if there is a story, we love to do the conversation. We go around and ask, what was the intention of this requirement? Who did we intend to build this for? How are they going to use it? And understand and empathize with the end user, right? So that we can create how they're going to actually, what the journey they're going to take to actually achieve what they were looking for, and then break them into multiple stories and deliver that. Because the end goal is not documentation or beautiful documentation or the best conversations that you've had. The end goal is a product that the user can actually use that meets their purpose. Right? All right. So I talked about story a bit. So let me just give, for anybody who has not heard about the word story, it is in the Agile world today, in Agile delivery, all of the tasks that the team has to do is broken down into stories. And it is as simple as the word goes. Story has a title, some context to it, what the user needs to do, and it has to be valuable, right? And it is the smallest chunk of work that can be bounded together that the team can work within an iteration. So stories usually are very, very small, right? You can have a very simple story with regards to login, where you can say just a username and password. Forget about Face ID, forget about fingerprints and all of those things. Those can be different stories. The first one can be just username and password. Then you can create all jazzy stuff around it, right? So stories are the basic building blocks of our whole delivery backlog, right? Some stories are very, very important. Some stories are not very important, right? And they'll get prioritized and deprioritized throughout the event of the project. So what is a story map? We'll try to cover that in this whole workshop.
Yeah, just to add on, so a user story is not a reminder of the conversation itself. It is a reminder to have that conversation. Yep. Okay, so user story mapping. What is user story mapping? So user story mapping is really agile techniques that to visualize all these scopes, the prioritizations, and so that everybody on the team will collaborate with each other.
Yeah. So as Gwen was talking about, user story map is all the stories that we have identified and that put together in a journey format so that you can collaborate. So as Gwen said, stories are not created to forget about the conversation or we had this conversation. Stories are to initiate that conversation again. So these are all a list of stories that that will actually show you what the journey the customer is going to take, and then you go and have that conversation with your stakeholders. Is this still true? Is our understanding still correct? And then you go on and build it, right?
Yeah. So, who here have ever used Agile Board or Jira to manage your backlog? Wow, great. Most of you. So it's really good that we can start from something we're familiar with. So when we look at the left side, the flat backlog, it may have cut lines for different sprints, different releases, different versions, whatever you call it. But if you want to go into the detail of the user story, just click on the green user story and see the detail, right? But while you look at the right side, the story map, on the top, all the black story cards, they are backbones of story map, and which is user journeys. And the green cards below each of them is the user stories. And for the black ones, each of them we call epic or feature. Okay, so you can see that we have a whole picture of what's going on the user journey. And also, you may notice for each of the epic, they are prioritized in sequence. And so that you can have different versions print and different releases, as well as flat backlog. While the flat backlog is a little bit flat and non-living thing, and story map is a little bit active. Okay.
Any questions so far? Any question? Are you following?
Yeah.
Can you do one of the screens like here on the side?
Oh, sure. Are you guys seeing this one or this one? Okay. Is this all
So,
right?
yeah. We'll come to why we will use user story mapping. So as you can see, from the previous sliders, that it allows you to have the whole picture, the big picture. And also, it can help us to prioritize the stories within the epic. And also, it brings us the collaboration within the team. Like maybe one of the team members say, oh, the prioritization is not like this, or we need to reorder the backbones, so it's collaboration within it. Also, it helps the product manager to manage the scope. It's very clear, it's visualized, so product manager can tell, oh, we will cut this for the version 1, cut this for the version 2.
Yeah. So as Gwen was talking about these things, we asked the question, how many of you have used a project management tool or a Jira? A story map can live in your project management tool, but at the same time, how we have used it, we have actually put them on the walls of wherever we are working. So we create a huge story map behind our project team, and those are actually the features broken down into multiple stories, and we usually we initiate all of our conversation against that user story map, asking, hey, which feature are we talking about? Which story within that feature are we talking about?
Sorry, question, how do you do it with distributed teams?
Very good question. At that time, tools like Jira come into picture.
Yeah.
Even in Jira, you have a feature called to create story maps.
Yeah.
Even then, you can show this whole physical wall can be replicated on your Jira and do it on this one.
Cool. Okay.
All right. So we've talked a little bit about what a user story map is. We didn't go into too much detail how that look like, and we talked about the benefits of creating user story maps, right? But there are some basic steps that you take to build a user story map, right? As you were talking about, as we were talking about these things, I constantly talked about end users, end customers, right? So any user story map, when you create, we need to first focus on who are we building this for. So understand the persona of your end customer. If we don't understand the persona of our end customer, we'll definitely miss out on multiple steps of the whole backbone that we have, right? So the first step to doing a user story map is to understand the persona. You can have multiple personas, and you can have more than one story map as well. Maybe an admin persona story map is completely different from end user customer persona, right? Once you have picked up a persona, you actually identify what is their goal. What is the goal that you're trying to solve, right? One of the examples that we have is we have a persona who's just trying to get ready in time and go to work. Not every user story map has to be for a digital product. You can do user story maps for your normal day-to-day life as well, right? Then you actually, once you've understood the goal, you break them into multiple tasks, understanding how this persona actually achieves that goal using those tasks. And then you can prioritize certain tasks, saying that, okay, if this person is running late, they might skip these kind of tasks. It's not necessary. Or they definitely have to do these backbone tasks, otherwise they can't achieve the goal, right? So that becomes easy to do. So these are the basic steps in building a story map. I'm sure there are more steps to it. Some of you who might have done this in the past might add more steps. If you have and want to talk about this, let's hear it now, or maybe after the Q&A. Yeah?
Yeah.
Looks like after the Q&A.
Okay.
Cool.
So after why and how, then comes to when. Me. And so when will we need user story mapping techniques? So I think it's more depend on your role. Like if you are a BA, you may use it when you facilitate a discovery workshop at the really beginning and to gathering requirements. And you may also want to use it when you manage your backlog. And if you are delivery lead, you may use it to track the progress. As you can see very clearly about each epic, the progress, how it's going to deliver. And if you are a product owner, you may use this to help you prioritize the user stories or the backbones. Also, when you do release planning, you can use this to help you. Okay? Any questions so far?
Any questions so far?
No? Okay. So we will give you an example of how to create user story mapping step by step. Be really careful for this section because you will follow this to create your own ones.
Yeah. So the next part, the second part of our workshop is, as a team, you'll be creating your own user story map. So listen to this example that Ben is going to talk about because that's going to give you ideas how you create your own user story map, right?
Yep. So, and don't worry, it is our daily life. Everybody will get familiar with this. Cool. So what is the scenario? Suppose that your alarm goes off at 7 and you only get 30 minutes to get ready to work. Everybody familiar with this situation, right? No? So follow the steps how to create user story mapping. The first step is persona.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the first step is to understand who this persona is, right? And once you understand the persona, that's when you can actually figure out what are the tasks that they would do to actually get ready and go for work. So this persona of Mary, she's a working mother, she's 32 years old, has a kid, she loves to do, she has got a dog as well. So this is just her demographic. Her behavior is she wears makeup, she does yoga, she practices yoga 3 times every week, and she loves her own coffee. So these are 3 behavior. If she's woke up in time and she can make it, she would definitely do these 3 kind of things, right? And our need and goal is, as we mentioned, the objective that we want to do is reach work on time, right? Manage the kids as well because she's a mother and she's got a dog as well, so she might have to walk the dog or feed the dog. I don't know, maybe one of the 2. And the third one is she should feel like she's not rushing. It should all feel like she's sorted. She's a mother after all. She doesn't want to worry about all of these things once she's at work, right? So this is just a very simple persona that we've created. There are detailed personas that you can go for as well. I know in delivery, and we'll show you one more detailed persona later. But this is a very simple persona that we wanted to give you because this is not what we've come to talk about.
Yes.
The thing that we want to talk about is the user story map.
Okay, so we're now clear about the persona Mary, right? And Mary's goal is to get to work within 30 minutes.
Can everybody see it?
So that's
Is
more.
it-
I will go through it. So maybe she need to. So the backbone, the epic of feature, is really the high-level user activity that the user need to accomplish or finish. So maybe the first step, she will get up first, and then manage the kids and dog well. And after that, she will do some yoga, and then coffee or breakfast, and makeups, and then dress up, and then get ready to work. Okay, this is just an example as Mary. And when you show this backbones to the team, maybe one of the team members say, you know what? Maybe she will do yoga first and coffee and makeup. Then she will manage the dog and kid because kids can sleep a little bit longer and nobody bothering her doing the makeups, and the dog can just play by himself. So that is a collaboration within the team. And as you can see, the backbones, we made following timelines or priorities. And this is not defined. Team members still can question that, collaborate, chatting, reordering all the time. So that's the reason why we use the user map to visualize all these big backbones to try to encourage the collaboration, communication, and then make it perfect for the persona.
Anything that you draw out, or even in the story map, once it is done, it looks beautiful and it looks like a lot of work, but nothing is written in stone, which means that your priorities today can stay like this, and you're open to discussion and move around. So stories can move around, features can move around, your personas you can prioritize certain personas over other personas. So all of these things are basically to continue the conversation, continue prioritizing. Prioritization is not a one-time job. It's a regular job that you need to do with your team.
Yep, okay, cool. So the next step is break the epic of feature into user stories. I won't go through all of them, just give you 2 examples so that you can have a look and feel and to make your own. So for get up, maybe she needs to turn off the alarm first and then get up from the bed and then turn on the music so that's a little bit romantic because, you know, women need to make the, it's romantic and it's good. And for kids and dog, maybe she needs to wake up the kids, feed the dog, and then feed the kids, stuff like that. It's really like the tasks or the real stuff that the user need to do within this epic or feature.
So usually the directive is break them into as small a chunk or task as possible. That is valuable once you do this. So if you have woken up the kid, that's valuable enough. Maybe your kid is a super kid and can get ready and feed themselves and everything, so you're done. That's the end of the story for you, and the kid can take care of themselves. So try to create your stories as small and valuable as possible and independent, right? It shouldn't be wake the kid, feed them, and take them to school as one big story in itself, right?
Yep. Cool. Then one day you snoozed for 3 times and you only have 15 minutes now. Which task you will do in this case?
This is very real scenario in every delivery. Not coming to work late, I'm just saying, that happens too. But in a real scenario when you've had a late night, you've partied a lot, and then you get up late the next day. You keep snoozing, you don't want to go to work, and then once you wake up, you realize you have half the time. In actual delivery, there are times like this when your project manager comes or your business stakeholder comes and says that budget cut to X by 2, or we have to release in half the time. We can't wait on for 6 months for you to release. And in those kind of situations, the very first thing that you want to do is have a conversation with your stakeholder, go back to the story map and ask them, very good, let's figure out what are the things that we need to prioritize and what are the things that we need to cut. In Mary's case, she woke up 15 minutes late. She's got only 15 minutes to get ready. So there are definite tasks that she will have to drop or ask her partner to help her out with.
Yeah, like for Mary's example, she may won't turn on the music because no time. She may not doing yoga anymore. She may just put on some serum on and then dress up and pack the bag, get the key and get into the car, go to work. And leave the kids and dog to other people.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the concept of MVP, minimum viable products. Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions so far? We talked a lot about the user story map, which was not from a digital life. It was a real life example. Do you see a resemblance to how delivery projects are actually run? And any questions there?
No, not so far. Okay.
No questions? Oh, that's good.
Cool.
Right. So as Wen was talking about MVP, if you can go back.
Okay.
Thank you. So that helped in developing MVPs as well. So let's say a person is always late and they can only manage 15 minutes before work, and that's the MVP that we want to develop, then we think about the bare minimum task that they have to do before they can leave the house. Similarly, if you're developing a particular product, let's say you're developing an e-commerce website, what is the bare minimum things that you have to develop so that a person can actually buy stuff from your shop, from your e-commerce shop, right? Maybe just a home screen with all the products labeled there and directly taking to the cart and do cash on delivery. That's the bare minimum, maybe, right? And these are just conversation. A bare minimum product for me might be completely different for a bare minimum product for you, right? And that's why a story map is very important, where you can talk to your stakeholders and figure out and come to a conclusion what is the bare minimum that they want.
Yep.
Right?
And there's a saying that when you do in products, always do like an artist. Because if you want to draw a heart, you always draw a outline first and then fill in. You never draw pieces by pieces to put it together. So that's the concept of MVP, okay? Cool.
So that was a lot of us talking, giving you all the information about what a story map is. It's very simple, actually. Now it's your turn to create story maps for yourself as a group, right? If you have any questions right now about user story map or the example that we shared, you can ask us. Or when we go into the step-by-step process of creating the user story map for ourselves, you can look for us or any of the volunteers and they will be able to help you out as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
Good. So you guys are already sitting in groups, right? So you'll be working in groups to create your user story map. The example for which you're going to create a user story map is an everyday example for all of us, which is not an everyday example. It's a very common example for all of us, where we go online to buy maybe shoes or clothes, right? People do shopping online? Who all do shopping online? Who loves doing shopping online? Oh, okay. So we are familiar with it, right? Here, our friend Darren wants to buy a pair of shoes online from an apparel store. Sounds familiar? Yeah? Shoes, clothes, everything? So let's get to know a little bit about Darren. Darren is a working professional. He's 28 years old. He's got 1.2 thousand followers on Insta. Quite an influencer. He likes to stay up to date with new fashion trends. So that's why I think he wants to keep buying shoes online. He shops regularly online and at stores. And he loves a good bargain, right? So these are certain behaviors that you might want to consider when you are thinking about the task that he's going to do, right? And what exactly is his needs and goals? So he wants to become a key influencer in Melbourne. He wants to always buy the trendiest stuff, whatever is popular, whatever makes more sense, whatever is relevant from his buying history. And he wants to get more brand endorsement. He's made 1.2 thousand Instagram followers. He wants to create a brand for himself. He wants to become a brand endorsement kind of a person. Okay? So that's just a bit of persona for Darren. Keep Darren in mind when you create the user journey. The first task, as I mentioned, before you can actually create your user story map, is the backbone, or what I call is the user journey. Right? So, I'm going to hand over these big flip charts to each group to create your own user journey for Darren, who wants to buy shoes online. Yeah. Green, I think we're a very big group, so we'll split it into two. For you? 10 minutes. Don't start now. Don't start. Is everybody okay? Okay with? Okay with example? You don't have to do all the one. You just have to write down the steps.
I'm okay. I'm going home. See you guys. She's supposed to. Alright. Backbone, yeah, I guess the high level journey. So for this guy, I'd say the first thing he wants to do is work out what's trending, right? And in order to purchase something. Yeah, stay up new factor. So I guess the new factor is who's gonna do it? I said research, but I don't know the stuff. Like, yes, look it up. Good. I don't know, who's a...
All right, for this activity, we've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
I'll put it down as something, but... That's what I know that's what I'm doing. That's
Probably need to tell them address at some point. I don't know if that's.
oh yeah, for geographic size. You'd have to know what size you're available.
What's he doing before he shoots it? Well, I've seen it's a website, we're seeing the website. One thing.
I guess what he's trying to say is where's the starting point? To me, what's the starting point? Is the starting point choosing?
So at this point, we're just hypothetical. We're not going to test. Choosing the shoes, fine. That's the one before. But if you research, if you come to a website,
I was thinking if you're maybe you're an NBA fan, let's code.
but again, like what I was talking before, for example, like making research, right? Yeah, but because these can be.
You could look at it two ways. You could be people who browse and then there could be people that know exactly what they want.
If he knows what he wants, what's he but you need to know what you can actually offer. I want. Sure, if you look at this very specific model,
versus what is also trendy. Yeah, that's why I put research. But I didn't know, as I said, I don't know what study state is. So study state, so this is browse location search. Yeah, so this is when you're on the site.
Because I guess like the problem is that after we have so like
Well, I don't know. How do you just come? Browsing and researching are kind of two different things. So research is like, I want to know what I want to write. And browsing is, I'm just looking. Right? So they're kind of two different things. So for me, it'd be research and then you would locate. You would research what it is and you would locate what it is you're looking for. Whereas this is a browse, you're just kind of looking for anything and then you would say, okay, yes.
And then this one will be so once you understand
This one?
the shoes you go and try to figure out
Yeah, that's, so this is where it comes down to the personality of the person, right? So some people, so what I'm saying is it depends on the personality. Some people like to research things and other people like to browse.
No, it's fine. So this reason, like choosing the shoes actually can like so incorporate these two.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Choose like browse or like research. Then you pick up two users personalities. Which means choosing the shoe is like the title. After this tells you how you get it.
So this really encompasses all three of these, really. Yeah. I'm cool with that.
The idea is that for each one of these, there's a page, and it will be simple way the user stories. So, you want to yeah. This is exactly what like do like how to use these considering these elements or considering them studies of art.
I think we better hurry up too. Apparently 10 minutes. Yeah, so we better start doing What about research, select, why, or something? What about they will highlight? Okay.
Because after that,
Yeah. Why am I too high level? Yeah. Yeah. I think we're trying to work out if it's a story or not a story, but so do you feel like these three are all kind of similar? off on Instagram. Is that right? Fair enough.
So now we have to put the user stories down at each every
No, this is just the first step. That's, I think that's why we've gone with
So this is like so with research it would be like what the difference around.
I'm going to give this another try. Oh, this time it worked. Cool. It did work. Awesome. So, everyone, I hope you now have the customer's journey, Darren's journey. Yeah? You have the basic journey. Darren wanted to buy a shoe online, right? So, based on Darren's persona, you might have created a basic journey, as we call it the backbone of the user story map, right? Is that true? Everybody's created a journey? Yeah. By the end of the journey, Darren should be able to buy a shoe, right? All right. So once you, we'll skip this one.
Okay.
So that's the first step that we did. We mapped the journey. Now the second step, and that's where stories come into picture. Now what we're going to do is the basic backbone that you have created. Let me look at one of the basic backbones. Maybe select a shoe, right? You've seen a catalog of shoe online. You can break that catalog into multiple things. Sorting, showing by relevance, showing the most popular ones on top, or putting discounts on certain products. Because look, Darren is looking for discounts and he's looking for more deals and everything. So maybe on homepage you show a section which says our most popular buys, right? Those can be all your stories. So you take one of the step on the user journey and you break them into multiple stories. So I'm hoping that your journey sometime might have a step called coming to the homepage of the site, selecting a particular shoe, selecting the shoe size or the color, and then putting it into the cart, putting your shipping details and your payment details, and then paying for it. Right? I'm hoping those are some of the steps in your whole journey. You can take these steps and break them into smaller chunks of tasks or stories.
And while we're doing this, brainstorming, no judgment at the beginning, just put whatever you want to talk at for this epic, and then at last we will do prioritization.
Yeah. So again, we'll spend 15 minutes this time to take your backbone, think about the first step, break them into multiple tasks or stories. Think about the second step, break them into multiple tasks and stories. Work as a group to create the final user story map. Yeah?
Okay.
All right.
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Not happy with that background. Yeah, I think it's good enough. It'll do.
So one thing that you were telling me that so the browsers you are in the store, online store, physical store, you're in there, you're looking for what they have. You research the steps for that, where you're going, what is available in the world today. Okay.
I guess they're in parallel, right? So you might want to browse. You might be a person who's browsing, and then there might be someone who's actually researching.
I guess we can start with the research is not nice. We're not doing it into the shop, it's going to the shop.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So we can try to look back to user stories.
there is nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, we can think just like these two.
You've done research and you don't have
As Darren was
Worked. Yes. Yeah, I don't know where we got this from, but it works. All right, team. Do you all have a user story map now?
Yes.
Yeah? Yes. Was that difficult, easy, super easy? I mean, it's just useless. Why did we do this? Or was it useful to understand Darren's journey, how he's going to buy the shoes online? Yes? No? I'm going to just say yes then. All right. So since all of you were very involved in building this user story map, now it's your time to share with the larger audience here what the user story map, what your team's user story map looks like. There is no right or wrong user story map, because some of you might have thought about complete social media and how Darren, once he's bought something, maybe through Instagram, what does that journey look like? Some of you might have thought about just buying shoes from a physical store completely and then reviewing it online or something. Some of you might have thought about a very simple, basic online store, right? So there is no right or wrong in how you build your story map, right? So can we start sharing some of the user story map? Who wants to go first?
So 2 minutes each group to show to the audience. Go for it. Go for it.
Who wants to go first?
I think we have to go.
Okay.
Yes, please. If you can come up here so that people who are online can also see the user story map that we have created.
Okay.
Do you want me to hold it?
Nah, I'm good. Okay, so we'd like to introduce you to Dazza, the Insta blogger. And so, the first thing that we do is we go through the budget. Do you want to explain the next steps beyond that bit?
Since you're not reading upside down.
I can do the back. We do the yellow stuff.
So first he's going to establish his budget. Should we go like the overall first or down?
Yeah, overall first and then down.
Okay. So our overview at this point in time is establishing a budget and then doing social media research, going on to identifying and then going on to the shop/store, choosing the product, checking out, delivery, and then posting on social media. So breaking it down into steps, we've got budget is checking his disposable income, checking his bank account, and then checking with his wife and mum for permission.
Very important.
Social media research is identifying ratings, comment research, doing some in-store comfort research, and seeing if he can solicit some brand sponsorships before he makes any potential payments with his 1.2 thousand followers. Yeah. Shoot your shot. Going on to the shop/store, checking store ratings and also whether they've got free return policies. Choosing the product, sorting by type, and then choosing a brand, ideally if he can get some sort of bonus with this particular brand. Choosing his favorite color, size, and also making sure that it's in season, very important. Checking out, so sorting out his account, whether that's signing in or logging in or signing up. Verifying his details, deciding whether he wants to pick it up in store or home delivery, and of course it's going to be home delivery. He's going to abandon his cart, wait for 24 hours, and then wait until he gets an email
Yep.
for them to some sort of promotion or discount. Insiders.
Looks like a trend that we need to do.
See, everyone's going to get something out of this workshop. Also going on to Honey.
Yeah. So Honey is a Google Chrome plugin. So whenever you go onto a website, thank you, my lovely wife, for showing me this. It will then automatically apply any available discount coupons.
Hashtag not sponsored. And then processing the payment. Delivery, he's going to track his order. He's going to get it delivered to work to make sure that all of his co-workers know what is purchased and what to look forward to on his social media. Sneak preview. He's going to receive the shoes. He's going to try on the shoes for fit. And then he's going to strut around the office in his new shoes. Are you sure?
Well, he wants to check and see how many head turns he gets, because if he only gets 1 or 2, then he's going to return them. If he gets 10 or 20, then he's going to, post it.
That's another trick.
Yeah. And then the most important part, he's going to post this on social media. So he's going to do his photo shoot. First, he's going to decide whether it's professional or selfie. He's going to check the SEO rankings, make sure he's got that all covered. Going to tag online. Also posting this to his blog / Instagram. He's going to buy an additional 1,000 followers probably before he posts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Comment interaction, video review, and what was that?
So that one there is how to clean your shoe blog.
Oh, right. What about it?
Value add.
Pathways. And that is Daz's journey.
Wow.
Good job.
Who wants to go next? Next? You can go next? Yeah? Go ahead. Are you having a hard time with the sticky? Yeah, so there's another trick. On the flip top, you'll not get those stickies stuck onto that area of the flip chart.
Okay.
Because they've got a solution on the very top bar of every flip chart, because that's the sticky end of the flip chart over it. So that you can rip it very clean, there's a bit of a solution on top of that flip chart there. No sticky sticks there. Learned it the hard way. I've lost a lot of stickies during workshops.
Well, thanks. That was a great one. I learned quite a few shopping tricks from you. Definitely an online shopper. Well, this comes from our team. So yeah, we have generally divided it into 5 bits, like 5. I would say it's a spine that connects most of the sub-tasks. Researching the trending shoes. Like the starting point was like there's a fashion forecast that usually happens that when we want to stay on top of the line for being someone who's too trendy, I would want to buy the next trend, not like the ongoing trend. So that's first. Second one, comparing the shoes. I would have made like any shoe freak would go out maybe select 100 shoes for their first list, and the third one would be the best deal. I guess that's the thing for the deals, and then following it, like you need to place the order finally to get the shoes right, and at the end, yeah, post it on the Instagram as like, so that has some of the details. So I guess Javid can take it forward from that.
Yeah. So researching can be done with the different social media websites. It can be on the Insta, Google, or the brand websites as well. And as he's an Insta follower, so we are assuming that he is influenced by someone else as well. So he might be having few celebs, favorite celebs. So he can search on their accounts and see what they are going with at the moment. And then he can visit the shops, because sometimes you can't get everything online and you won't be getting some of the trending shoes. So you go to the shop and ask the worker there, like, what's going on in the market, can you suggest me something? So he can come up with maybe 100 of them which he likes the best, and then he can pick the most trending ones or the ones he likes, the color, or maybe which is in the season or which is going to come maybe after a couple of months. And then obviously the budget, because we are just considering he can be thinking of getting a $50 to $100 shoe, but after visiting the shop it can come up to $150. But yeah, he needs to decide with something what's the initial budget he wants to go with.
So, so in case if I have a $500 budget, I want to stay on top of the trends. That allows me to buy 2 pair of shoes. I can create 2 different posts, but I stick to one. Yeah.
So the next one is comparing the shoes. Now it can be
First, the wardrobe, because if he's a person who is going with the trend, so he might be having the different wardrobe and the trending clothes, and he don't want to buy another blue pair of shoes, so he needs to decide what color he's going with. So the size, because with the different brands, the sizes are different, so he needs to select it online and goes with the shoes, wardrobe, and then also revisiting the shop. So at the end, he's finalizing the 10 best shoes he can come up with. So the next is choose the best buy deal online. So coupons, like everybody, goes to the coupon, different websites and apply. Sometime it expires, so he keep on revisiting the coupon website, apply it, and then compare the shipping time, because sometimes the time is also the constraint you want to see. Yeah.
Sometimes a person like me tries to fake a code as well. Means I just try to pick a code somewhere. It says app 20, like hit app 30, you might get slightly more.
Yes. So the shipping time, the time is also the constraint after the budget. So after the shoes can be delivered after a week, or he wants it in 2 days. So he needs to compare that as well, and then finalizing the shoe and the website, like where he's getting the best deal, shipping time, and the price, obviously. So, and select the website based on that. And then obviously placing the order. If he's not having any online account, he will create another one or use existing one and add to the basket the particular product. Complete the shipping and delivery details, and can do the afterpay if he's having the budget issues, so like zip pay or the afterpay. And then save the tracking information for just seeing how it's going to be delivered and when it's going to do that, and then order the reference.
And that's just storing the order reference.
Yes. So the post on Insta, as he's an influencer, so he will be taking the picture with the professional photographer.
Can be in any social media as well.
Yeah, and then upload the picture with the timing. Obviously, there is some active time people are on Insta, because during the works, most of the people are not. So he will be thinking about when he needs to post that particular shoe or picture, and then apply filters to look it more trendy, and then write the post, comment, hashtag.
There's a correction there, like hashtag no filter. My shoes are as original as I bought them. So slight bit of detail.
And hashtag the brand he purchased the one. So that's what we come up with. Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi, this is our user story of Darren. His Instagram name is @ddog. Please follow him and you get a free discount code. So we have Darren, he's opening his Instagram on his phone because he's in bed and he's a bit lazy to get out. So he strolls through his homepage and feeds and goes, looks at a couple of people that he follows and likes, and he decides on a brand and style. So then he goes, gets off bed, logs on into his computer, and then types the brand and the shoes name that he wants into Google. Google does a Google search for him and compares different websites that sells that shoe at whatever prices that it is. And Darren, even though he's bargain conscious, he's not cheap. He likes to get good quality shoes, but at the best price. So he decides to get the latest Comme des Garçons Converse, which is by Clark Taylor. So so he reaches out to the brand for sponsorship, and he reads reviews, and he sees, checks, speaks to a couple of his friends, and they all go, oh wow, yeah, I really want that shoes, but I can't afford it at the moment. So, and so he goes and compares the shoes on different websites, and he finds a shopping website that sells the shoe at the best price. So, and then he tries to find more discount codes for that website, and he finds it, applies it, and get $50 off. So, and then chooses the color, the size, and then check, and then they actually have that shoes available, adds it to cart, and he logs in as a guest, applies his coupon, puts all his credit card information in, shipping address, email details, and also subscribes to the newsletter. So once he's paid for it, he's anxiously waiting for his arrival of his brand new shoes, and he receives an confirmation on email to say, oh, that they packed it and it's on the way, and gives him a 3-day delivery time. So but he checks it, and he keeps logging on the shipping tracking to see if it comes a little bit quicker, and it does. It comes within 2 days, and he signs for the package, tries on his shoes. He's very, very happy, and he takes a couple of creative photos with his shoes on, and he loads it onto Instagram. He gets lots of likes on his post, and he gets contacted by Comme des Garçons to cooperate. Please check out D-Dog.
Who wants to go next? You want to go next? Perfect.
We lose pieces, but we know. So first I will explain the epics. So the idea is that we do a first phase, which is the research. Then also we will check and browse what's available in the stores. Once we have figured out, then we will process in choosing the shoe, purchase it, and then after promoting on the social media. In terms of breakdown, so we go on Google and we search the trending shoes. Also, we will check the best fashion sites, always that we identified before, the celebrities, and if there are influencers that are followed by this guy that are talking about some specific shoes, set the budget, also and check the brands. In terms of browsing, we will check on the different stores which are the popular shoes, which colors and sizes are available.
So for browsing, we actually thought that the guy actually goes to the store and then asks the storekeeper. Actually, someone mentioned that. So you just find out on the website, on Google as well, Google search and also Real Talk. So he goes to people and he finds out what is the popular training one, and then.
If there are new arrivals as well, and also what's the cheapest choice once he has ideas.
Just to add on to that, our persona, I think we added it, just like a note. So this influencer, he's aiming for trendiest, newest arrivals, but are cheap. So you could aim certain target with that.
Yeah.
So that's our,
The idea is that he will use the social media to say, I bought the last ones at the cheapest price, basically. That wants to be. Then once he decides which kind of shoe he will buy, then he will pick the size, the color. Also, if there are variations, for example, like laces or something that makes the shoe very particular.
Purchase shoes. So he checks his bank balance if he has actually money or not, and then he adds them to the cart, provide shipping details, his address and everything, and confirm purchase, provide account details, because I was doing it and I thought he was paying it by card, or if you're paying it by PayPal or anything, it'll be different. So you confirm payment, and once you get the shoes, you go for promoting the shoes. One point I fell down. You know the shipping ID. Sorry. So purchasing, you do photo shoot as well because he wants it to be pretty. So share the purchase on social media and tag the brand, and communicate on Twitter. I mean, not because I think we focused on Instagram and Twitter here. And you add the rating of the product. So you go onto the different websites and adding rating to the product, because that is one of the way many people get followers if you see like a critic. And support the brand product, possibly earn money.
He will advertise his purchase, so that possibly will be seen and will get some money back. Hopefully.
Yeah, if the photo is pretty, you'll get many people seeing it. So.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Last one. Who wants to go next?
That's right.
So our journey starts with research, and we thought that research could be in many forms, from keyword searches to autocompletes, fashion magazines, mostly online where you get links, and of course social media as well, because he's big into social media, so I'm pretty sure he will find some links to our stores. And of course reading reviews will help as well. We also thought that other than research, finding the website might be a part of the journey as well. So that was our second point, and that we have a lot of online offers that kind of leads to our website. We send electronic emails that he might get forwarded to, so it can be an option. We looked at SMS marketing as well, which is kind of we are not that serious about because we know the privacy laws. But we also had direct mail and social media ads. I'll just do this side and you do that side, or but you can take over if you want to. All right. So once they get to our site, we thought they will do a lot of selection, and we decided the selection is so wide that we actually broke it down to 3 separate journeys. One of them was search on site, the other one is comparing, and also sorting. So just a few details, not mentioning all of the things. We looked at searching with brand filtering. We looked at bestsellers. We looked at search sorting based on style, price, and so on, colors, and of course someone mentioned here seasons, which is very important. But when they get to selected the right product, they will need to compare it as well. So comparison was one of the key features that we had. We don't want to just say that our shoes are the best. We wanted to make sure that DASA can actually compare the shoes with other websites, how our prices or our styles are the best. We had one that we kind of were unsure, but we put login and registration there. We know that DASA probably wants to be automatically recognized, but we provided here the options of actually registering, signing up a loyalty program, signing up for reward points for later purchases if he's a regular. Then we moved on to actually buying and the payments. So of course, just like the other teams, we thought of different payment methods. We thought of shopping cart, buy it later, so kind of a wish list. We don't accept Bitcoin yet, so we decided to kind of limit the payment methods, but we thought of other popular methods like Afterpay or EMI, which I was not familiar with, but our team was, so I learned something new as well. Delivery methods, do you want to?
Yeah, so delivery methods, we were trying to give the multiple options, like whether to order online and pick up at store, and or whether how to track the order, where the order currently are, or what are the options, how fast you can deliver to the persons, like whether it's an express order or not. So all those options were available. So that was options which we wanted to give as part of the delivery methods. And so that's where pretty much the delivery ended. And after that, it's pretty much, since the persona was pretty much about, was enthusiastic about the social media related activities. The rest of the journey was about how he shares his experience with the rest of the crowd, sharing it across on social media, on tagging on the products and all. And that drew us on the happy path. So every purchase may not be the right one for you. So there's an option for returns. So what are the options? What are the conditions available for the returns? That has been sorted out. And once you get and experience your product, there are options for reviews of the product. So you give the different options how to review and what are the options to review on that one. And after sales services options also have been provided as part of customer service.
Thank you so much. So you could see that there is a lot of variation in the user journeys that all of you have created, depending on what aspect of the persona that you were focusing on, and there were a lot of commonality as well, right? Is that true? Yeah? All right, how did you enjoy this whole exercise? Or did not enjoy at all? am I feeding words into your mouth right now? So basically when we do any kind of delivery, we try to create a user journey map like this, try to understand the persona, create a massive user journey map. When we sit down and talk to our stakeholders, we always identify there are steps or parts of the backbone that we might have missed. Talking about the details of the stories, there are always some aspects that we might have missed. And that's why, as I had mentioned, a user journey map is not set in stone. It can evolve. Even during the delivery time, you can identify that there is a key aspect of the user journey that you might have missed. Like maybe we did not think about the after-sales part of the journey. Maybe we forgot about capturing reviews and feedback from our customer. And then you add those kind of aspects to it, right? So user journey map is always evolving, right? So what are the pitfalls that we have seen from doing this thing so many times, right, as part of our deliveries? One of the biggest feedback pitfall that we have seen is most of the time we go into this habit of creating to-do list rather than thinking about the high-level feature and then breaking them into smaller chunks of stories that is valuable, independent, that adds some business value at the end of the day for the journey, for the person, right? There are times when we go into a lot of to-do lists where, oh, Darren will do sort, and then he'll select relevance, then he'll select. So those become like very to-do list, whereas your story might be sorting functionality, right? Or your story might be having a hero page which talks, a hero image which talks about the discount the online shop has, right? That can be a separate story of itself. Do you want to add more?
No, thanks.
Oh, sorry. User stories as steps in the scenario. I've also seen that many a time people actually forget about user stories and they talk about, hey, what's the next step that Darren's going to do? And they completely forget about the bigger objective, what exactly they need to do. You get very engrossed, oh, they're going to go onto Instagram, start following somebody else, but you completely digressed from your main objective that Darren had come to showcase his shoes, the new purchase that he had, right? And also too granular slicing, as I was talking about. So you don't want to break your stories into sorting by relevance, sorting by color, sorting by price. You don't want to break them into that kind of slicing. That's too granular. You will combine all of them and say, hey, we need a sorting functionality, right? And sometimes it's not enough slicing at all, where you go ahead and say that we'll create a huge catalog of all the shoes in the world. You might want to break them down into catalog for Adidas and have features where you can showcase all Adidas shoes, all Nike shoes, and so on and so forth, right? However you decide it to be.
Yep, just to add on, so when you use user story maps, so it's no wrong or right. It depends on how you use it and what is the scenario. Sometimes it's epic user stories. Sometimes if you facilitate the discovery workshop from the very beginning, it might not be epic at all. It may be something else, but depends on the scenario, the time you use it. It's not right wrong. Just give you a whole picture of the user journey and then slice it down. Yep. Cool.
So we've been constantly talking about how you use your user journey. Some tips and tricks that we have done in the past to create a user journey which is much more holistic is involving all key roles and all the stakeholders. We try to involve marketing team, we try to involve the business owner, we try to involve whoever is our sponsor who thinks that we need to build this e-commerce platform. We sometimes also involve the end customer in these workshops. We involve them so that we understand there might be something that Darren tells us that all of us in this room might have not thought about, right? So there are all the key different roles, key roles that we include in these kind of workshops.
Yeah.
We, as I mentioned, we talk a lot about collaboration and conversation. All of our workshops are heavily involved about all these conversations. So we note down all of these conversations, these stories that we create, we try to write down all the assumptions or any kind of follow-up or clarification that we need to do after the workshop. So we try to note them down once we have created the story map. So usually what would happen is we would have a user story map up on the wall, and these small stickers would become like your stories, and we note down the assumptions right at the back of those stories so that we don't forget about it. This story you're talking about might get developed maybe 4 or 5 weeks down the line. You don't want to forget the context, right? So that's why we note down all of these things.
Yep. And if you like have multiple location teams, you can use online tools like Jira. Like there are a couple of like payful tools you
there
to
are
use.
tools called as Extensio,
Yeah.
UX Amplify, or something like that. Those are purely to create customer journeys, purely to create user story maps. A lot of teams who work distributed use these kind of tools, but Jira has recently implemented this new feature where you can create your user story map as well and do all of those collaboration in this digital world.
Yep. In the get to work example, I use Jira for creating. No problem at all. Yep. Okay. So we will have a recap of what we've shared today. So who remember why we need user story mappings? Can anybody think of why?
Remind ourselves what we need to deliver, like just to remind ourselves what we need to do with this sprint or PSI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything?
Anybody else?
What?
Big picture, prioritization, and a few others.
Very good. Anything else?
Yeah.
Collaboration?
Collaboration, communication, the holistic picture for the whole.
The user.
Yeah,
to understand the user. Yes.
And deliver the MVP.
Yeah, deliver MVP. Yeah. Control the scope. Yeah. Okay, who can remember how to make a user story map step by step? First one.
Write down your product map.
Persona.
Yeah.
Then user goals.
User journey. Yeah.
Goals.
Yeah.
Then user journeys. The backbones. And then break into
Specific tasks.
yes, specific types, tasks, and then prioritization. Yep. And who can remember when can we use user story maps? Yeah, you want to prioritize, you want to track the progress, you want to facilitate a workshop, you want to gather in requirements, whatever you want to do.
It's a living artifact for your team. So your team can actually go up to the user story map and say where exactly we are, which particular feature we are working on. Any story that a team member is working on, they can go back and map it in the overall holistic picture of the product.
Yeah. And you've already created your own user journey map. That means you can do it by yourself now, okay? And we have introduced the concept of MVP, like 15 minutes, join your heart. Remember that? Because we don't have time for you to practice MVP now, but you will have this in your mind. Okay? Cool.
Any questions? Any learning from your past or learning from this exercise that you want to share with a bigger audience?
I've got a question here.
Yeah, we've got a question from the online side.
Yeah. So, any good way to share to show the story dependency when one story is dependent on the other stories in other Scrum teams?
So this is something that I've done in the past. When I have a user story map up there, I usually color code the stories with respect to the stories that my team has to work on, and a different color code for stories which this particular story is dependent on, but some other team has to work on it. And I try to mark the dependency using, like, I put like a thread between the two stories, showing that this is dependent on this, and also post about any timeline by when this particular story that the other team is working on will get done. So there are thousands of ways. This is what I do when the team is all co-located. If the team is sitting in different places, in different geographies, I use Jira's tagging mechanism and tag them separately.
Yeah, and also do not forget communications. If you have dependency on other teams, like invite one of their team members, BAs or tech leads, come here and join us our stand-ups or like planning sessions to let them feel the pain. Yeah.
Any question?
Any questions?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you go.
Yeah, in case if the stories are interdependent, then what happens? Just following up the previous one.
If the stories, they'll always be interdependent. No matter how much you try to keep them independent, there is always some dependencies that you will always find out. What you try to do is, as I mentioned, in the MVP itself, you try to create the foundation stories, and then you try to take on the enhancements. So you can't say that I will start building the enhancements even before the foundation is ready, right? And that's how you try to do it, and you try to sequence it as well as much possible.
Something else that you may also want to look at is going one step above an MVP to an MLP, so a minimal, likable, or lovable product.
Yes.
Because if you just go with the bare bones by itself, you're not going to be able to get a lot of customer interaction, a lot of feedback, because if they hate it, they won't go back. So you want to be able to prioritize, what are the key minimum features that we need for us to be a liked product. And then you can build off that to then go forward as well.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, so if you search for the term MLP and MMP, there's minimum marketable product, minimum viable product. There are a lot of terms like that. Do you have another term for it?
Yeah, like even less than the MVP is the risk-based assumption tested.
Yes. Yeah, so there are a lot of terms out there, but all of this comes down to the discussion with your stakeholders, right? MVP can be defined, so as I mentioned earlier, MVP for you can be completely different from an MVP for me, because I value some things that are that might not be important to the other person. I know we're running out of time. In case you step out and please leave us feedback. There is a feedback flip chart up there. Pick up a sticky, write down some feedback for this session so that the next sessions we can incorporate those feedback and make it better, right? But if you plan to stick around, we'll continue the Q&A for another 2 more minutes. Yeah.
Also, if you have any topics in mind which you would like to be covered as part of the and last not the least,
there's always an and.
If you like it, just one tweet or one LinkedIn post.
LinkedIn?
Yeah, not on the LinkedIn, the Twitter.
I don't have a Twitter handle. I'm not that savvy.
Okay, that's all.
Any more questions? Any more questions from anyone?
I was wondering, how do you, because a lot of stories, their hypotheses, at some stage, how do you bring user research into the sort of user story process, and how do you actually bring research into it, and how do you validate those user stories?
Yeah. That's a very good question. So all of these things, until we actually deliver, are all hypotheses. We have never met Darren, right? We don't actually know what's Darren's need are. When he said that he wants to buy a shoe online, we stepped into his shoes, we assumed this is what the journey he's going to take. And then we went out in the market and thought that this is the journey that Darren would appreciate. So even after you've gone live, there is always, you want to go back to your customer, figure out if they are appreciating this particular product that you have delivered, the digital product, the digital journey. Take that feedback and go back and look into your user journey and say that, oh, you know what, we completely forgot to capture reviews. Darren loves to give reviews because Darren is a very social person. He loves to give reviews. We don't have an Instagram page maybe. So we need to create our own Instagram page so that Darren can hashtag and create, tag us. So these kind of things. So this is a continuous loop. We assumed something, and that's why that was hypothesis-driven development that we did, and then we go and capture that feedback and feedback to our user journey map.
Right? It's quite useful sometimes. In the past, I used to use story maps to kind of map out or kind of understand which stories are validated or not. So you kind of know what the things that you should be actually prioritizing first, because you actually know which ones are important or not. So it's just so as you do the story map, it's probably good to understand which one should go first from a user research perspective. And it kind of helps that.
Actually, that question reminds me, there's one project we together, like I have an assumption of a user story mapping first, and then we go to the client side to do the research, and then now we get the feedback back to reorder that one and to try to answer our assumptions, and then try to drill down into user stories and do the following up workshop with the clients to try to make it more what the really client needs. So I think like user research and our BA work, user story map is kind of collaborate with each other, and it's like it's not a define, it's not a stone. It is really like being
I think it goes back to
progress.
the point around like it's ultimately a collaboration tool.
Yeah,
Everyone involved can have their say and have an opportunity to discard or actually like have a better understanding of like what should be.
Yeah, it's just a tool. It's just a technique that you can use
You
to
had a
collaborate.
point.
Yeah.
And just on that, you want to try and get as diverse a group as you can. So,
Yes.
Don't just have men or don't just have women in the group,
Yeah.
Really make it as diverse as possible, because that helps to then remove bias out of your thinking. And I think that's really, really important, because if you're trying to reach a particular market, you want to be able to understand that market as fully as you can.
That's a good point. So include as many diverse stakeholders that you can get. Even when you're doing user research, I think you tend to look at different diversity in that user research as well. Any other questions, tips, tricks?
End-to-end product change, like if there is any change in the requirement, you should be happy to accept whatever.
Of course, that's what agile development is known for, right? Yes, on whatever the boundaries are, if you can actually accommodate change, you should be accommodating change, right? We shouldn't, and that helps. If you have a user story map, you'll be able to do these kind of conversation very easily. If somebody comes and says that, hey, the requirement has changed, then you can always shuffle around and say, okay, this will take this much longer time, so what do we deprioritize, right?
Are there any questions on the chat?
Yes, there's one more. Actually, I'll say it. Sometimes we make process maps. How do we combine that with user journeys?
I personally have never tried to create a process map, but I have seen process maps. Personally, they don't work for me, because whenever I try to create any kind of digital product, I try to think of everything as a product. I try to think that this product adds value to an end user. The end user might be your internal staff as well, right? And that's why user journey and user story maps and stories, all of these work very well for me. But in case you have a process map, and even that's usually about systems and stuff, you can take a step back and think about how this particular system that you're building is gonna be used by the end user, and try to map that down. You'll always see some kind of overlap. In one of the delivery where there were already process maps defined, I actually looked at them as a documentation, and then went back to my stakeholders and say, hey, just for my sake, can we do this user journey? And I created user journeys at that time.
For me, I use a story mapping everything. So if I got the process map, I will see, okay, so how many features are there? If I can just define one feature, I will user story map that particular feature. Like it can be the user journeys, maybe it's not epic, it's just a high level stories, then you drill down to user stories. So it depends how to use it. Yep.
Any other questions?
Nope.
No questions?
Okay.
All right. I think that is a wrap completely. Thank you.
Good session.
Thank you.
Please don't forget to leave us feedback, because that helps us improve, and the next workshops might be better, or also give us all the topics that you want to listen or be involved in, so that we can schedule those. Thank you.